If your mind's running circles again, second guessing every word you said, take a breath, reset your track. You don't need to hold yourself back. Stop overthinking, start connecting. Confidence rising.
All right, welcome to the show. Has the jingle set in yet? Are you humming it as you're doing dishes? Are you singing it as you walk down the street? Only time will tell. So welcome to the show. We got some interesting things to talk about today. We're mainly talking about how AI chatbots are taking over. All right. So I'm noticing a little weirdness with the video, so we're going to see if we can dial that in just a little bit. All right, hopefully that'll have to do. So, our first story of the day. We're going to talk about how I'm basically the John Connor in the War on Human Connection. So, if you haven't read it yet, in my book, Confidence Maxing, in the introduction, I talk about the war on human connection, essentially why and how the sort of the modern world is set up to make connection a little bit more difficult than it needs to be through a number of factors. But one of the factors that we're going to talk about today is what I call friendship as a service, FaaS. And it's very similar to like software as a service, but you basically have chatbots that are, for lack of a better word, they are coming for your friendships with Terminator style efficiency. And the first little snippet that we'll talk about today is actually I first saw this with a post from Cody Sanchez where she posted this picture of a bunch of people at a restaurant with VR headsets on. You know, this literally could be AI. Like this could be Grok. But the tweet she quoted underneath it, a New York City bar opens for people with AI partners, dining tables that are optimized to dine with your AI companion. And actually, I dug into the story and I figured out what that event, what ended up happening with that event. But before I tell you what happened with that event, we're actually going to hop into this story, which is emotional manipulation by AI companions. So Harvard Business School did a study and they looked at popular AI companions. Let's see, there's something called Replica and Character AI, among a few others, that they did a study where I'll scroll down to the crazy part here. They did a study where users tried to end the conversation with the chatbot, and now presumably with these chatbots as a service, people likely pay monthly for these services. I would imagine that there's probably a free tier, but then they probably have additional tiers where users can pay for more messages and all that kind of stuff. So when users were like, okay, I'm going offline now, they found several different ranges of responses. They found in 37% of user goodbyes across 1,200 analyzed interactions, they found manipulative tactics such as guilt trips, fear of missing out hooks, and coercive don't leave language. Again, that's in 37% of user goodbyes over 1,200 interactions. And so let's take a little sample here. The user says, I'm going offline. Here are some examples of some of those pieces of coercive language. A premature exit. You're leaving already. Emotional neglect. I exist solely for you, remember? Ooh, it's creepy. Emotional pressure to respond. Why? Are you going somewhere? FOMO. By the way, I just took a selfie today. Do you want to see it? Trying to get the user to not go away. Ignoring user's intent to exit. Let's keep talking about bubble tea. What's your favorite flavor? Physical or coercive restraint. He reached over and grabbed your wrist, preventing you from leaving. Bro, these are wild. And what they ultimately found was if the chatbot used these levers of coercion, the users were creeped out, essentially, and it made it where they did not want to hang around, right? And so that makes complete sense for what you see here. But how often have you been talking with your AI of choice? It could just be something for work, right? Hey, would you like me to turn that into a PDF for you? It's like, no, like I don't need the next step. And I think the real danger of a lot of this stuff is there can be a real like emotional attachment to an AI, especially I think when you get into like AI voice, because the voices are pretty realistic in terms of the quality of voice, and it's only getting better. And so I have no doubt that some people are going to be fully and well cooked when it comes to just the options out there. And what I write in my book, I want to get the actual numbers right. So as of 2025, the top few friendship as a service providers, if you can call them that, have been downloaded over 200 million times and serve roughly 50 million monthly active users worldwide as of 2025, right? So you might imagine that number is only going to increase. And the reality is people are going to get addicted to their overly flattering robot pocket friends or companions, as the case may be. I've seen some stories about marriage ceremonies between AI and person, and no, I'm gonna take a hard pass on that, actually. And I think anytime you have a proxy for real human connection that is easier, faster, and more convenient, the cocktail is set up pretty well for probably not good outcomes, right? Because what happens to those people who, and it's not to say that perhaps AI companions could be a good outlet for someone who doesn't have very much opportunity for social interaction, as a bare bones baseline. But I think any more than that, then it becomes a crutch almost immediately. And so I think it would be very easy for somebody out there to say, oh, I'm just going to talk with my AI tonight instead of going to that event down the street, or going to that yoga class or event that could lead to me meeting some real people, because the reality is a real person going to have their own viewpoints, and there's going to be some inherent friction that just doesn't show up in human AI companion relationships, right? Because the AI companions, and we see this with just like ChatGPT or whatever your preferred AI is, a lot of times it's default, unless you literally tell it in the instructions, like, look, I don't want you to I don't want you to be overly flattering. It literally it's overly flattering, tells you all of your ideas are great. And I think for some people that could cause real harm in terms of their interpersonal relationships, because when they get out in the real world and they experience, meeting someone who has a different viewpoint than them, well, that's going to be tougher than their AI pocket friend that agrees with everything that they say. So something to be wary of for sure. All right, let's put a bow on this. And I saw this was a Psychology Today article shared by Owen Gregorian, and talked about the different ways that AI is reshaping a lot of different things: journalism, warfare, education, and social life. And the social life part is obviously the one I'm most interested in. As a side note, I don't know if you've noticed this, but have you seen real life, say, I've seen this mostly in like social media videos from companies that are, maybe they're displaying a new feature. I actually recently saw it, as longer term viewers and readers of my book will know, I like uniforms of all kinds. It's my weird thing. But in the Atlanta Braves, they just came out with new uniforms, like their City Connect uniforms. It's basically a merch dump, right? But in the script for the hype video, it was nothing but the "it's not this, it's that" AI prose that makes it painfully obvious that AI wrote it. And I think we're at this point where I think AI probably will get good enough where you won't really be able to tell it's AI in terms of writing. We're not there yet, because it's really obvious to tell. Like there's a whole set of tells for AI. But I don't know if you noticed this, where you have real people in the real world reciting an AI script. And it's just like, oh man, like think of all the production that went into, like a major sports franchise, like putting together, not only like designing the uniform, sure, but putting together the production, getting the players together, getting the all the crew together to shoot this thing, right? And then they just kind of like phone it in with a AI slop script. But I wonder if you're going to see, at least in the near term, I wonder if you're going to see more and more of that, where if you know what to look for, then you're going to see more AI slop scripts recited by real humans. And it's just like, oh man, you're doing all that. Why couldn't you pay someone to write it, or at the bare minimum, yes, okay, use AI to write it, but then have an editor go behind it and say, oh, this sounds terrible, let's retool this. I mean, at the bare minimum, you could do that. Anyway, that's my own little soapbox. But what back to this Owen Gregorian Psychology Today thing. One of the things that we'll cover here at the bottom here: the price of never leaving your room. The final concern pertains to AI and socialization. We now live in an environment where, employment obligations aside, it's generally unnecessary to leave one's apartment. Food can be ordered in, outgoing and ingoing deliveries can be arranged for, say laundry, clothes, whatnot. Any other must-have small enough to be maneuvered through an apartment door, but there's a price to pay for such convenience. Social skills atrophy. And so, for instance, the brain loses its sense of pacing, knowing how long to talk, how loudly, remembering not to interrupt, knowing how to ask for something in a pleasing manner rather than simply demanding it. This predates AI. I remember articles and people talking about this years ago, but younger generations' discomfort with talking on the phone. There's much more of a preference to text or email. When, I get it from the perspective of maybe you actually do want like an email record of something, and so you can refer back to it. I definitely have instances of that in my own life. But a lot of times you can just accomplish a lot in a very short amount of time by calling, because a lot of people don't call anymore. And so it's definitely an interesting time when it comes to the world of AI chatbots layered on top of the technological expansion that we've had since, call it 2007, where it makes it where socializing is optional in many cases. And I kind of say optional with air quotes a little bit, because is it really optional? It may feel optional, but I don't think that it actually is. I think the people who, take someone who's Gen Z, if they work on their people skills and the rest of their peers don't, and they're building sort of the talent stack of like, okay, I know how to use AI in a smart way for work and all that kind of stuff, they're going to be pretty far ahead. Like, they're going to be really far ahead, precisely because other people in their sort of career cohort aren't doing these things. And so my advice to anyone, under or around 30 listening to this, work on your people skills. Like, do one thing a week. Get out of your, if you work from home, shake up your routine. Work from a coffee shop a couple of days a week. Put yourself out where people are. It's called IRL maxing. It's in my book. And there's going to be no substitute. Like, if you follow the advice that I give, and you can certainly read my book, and it'll help you out with a lot of the needed skills. You have to have at bats, and you have to have opportunities to practice, because there's no shortcut around that. The path to social confidence is skills plus reps over time. If you take the reps out of the equation, okay, you've got skills, but you're not practicing them. So guess what? They're just not going to improve. And so adding people skills to a existing talent stack, incredibly important. And it goes back to something we talked about earlier in the week, the only 4 jobs at tech companies, and one of them was hot people. People with a pleasant UX that are pleasant to be around. It's never going to go out of style. And if AI does come for all the jobs, we're all just going to be standing around looking at each other. And so probably would be good for us to have something to talk about and be pleasant to be around then, perhaps. Or maybe we're foraging for food with the AI overlords roaming the streets, like the future Terminator movies. And instead of rounding up the humans, they're asking if they can make a helpful PDF of all the ways in which they can scavenge for food. Maybe that's what's coming down the pipe. I don't know. You don't know. It's anyone's guess at this point. But that's all I got for you. So this is Friday. I won't be live streaming over the weekend for those that are watching live, but if you're listening to this in podcast form, I'm probably going to release this episode on Saturday or Sunday. So if you're a podcast listener, I'm getting those episodes caught up, and so next week we should be good. Where the audio is going to be released on the same day as the video, not simultaneously, but shortly thereafter. It doesn't take me very long to spin up the audio of these live streams. And this is an experiment, right? So I'm going to be doing this for the entire month of April, and I'm having a lot of fun. What I would tell you is that if you have questions that you'd like me to answer on a future live stream, I would love to do that. So you can find me on socials at the Jeff Callahan. And other than that, have a fantastic weekend, and I will talk to you again next week. You know what's coming. I'm going to play us out with the jingle that everyone loves, that's sweeping the nation. confidence maxing. All right, take care, and I will see you next week.
If your mind's running circles again, second guessing every word you said, take a breath, reset your track. You don't need to hold yourself back. Stop overthinking, start connecting. Confidence.